I'm glad Jimmy Kimmel got canceled, because honestly, y'all needed to see a white man be silenced for y'all to get how absolutely fucking ridiculous this is. Y'all loved watching people lose their jobs over their opinions, even though y'all called it cancel culture when y'all were losing your jobs over your racism, which is not an opinion, it's a character flaw, right? Now, let me be clear. I love Jimmy Kimmel. I don't think he deserved to lose his show, but the fact that y'all are now saying, you know what, this is a little ridiculous. Why would they do that to Jimmy Kimmel? Y'all are remembering what happened to free speech. Y'all defended hate speech all the live long fucking day. And then when this happened, everybody all of a sudden was a prude. It was the pearl clutching. It was this, that, and the third. So you know what? I do hope that Jimmy Kimmel gets his show back, whether it be on a different network, whether that means like I don't know if you can go up against ABC because they got Disney. However, I do think that this is eye-opening for a lot of people. And so if it had to happen, it had to happen. But white people, don't let this go over your head, say that's a damn shame, and move on. Use that fucking fury for something, for fucking once, please.
ABC yanks Jimmy Kimmel show indefinitely after remarks about Charlie Kirk. This is why I said they're gonna come for everybody.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom.
That's what they fucking clapped him over. That's it. Highlighting how little Trump gives a fuck about Charlie Kirk. Like, he didn't even make I thought he made an edgy joke or something. Mr. Kimmel's comments about the death of Mr. Kirk are offensive and insensitive at a critical time in our nation. We've made the difficult decision to preempt the show in an effort to let cooler heads prevail as we move towards the resumption of respectful, constructive dialogue. Dog, if you want someone to do respectful dialogue, like, demand the president do so. What are we talking about? He didn't even say anything wrong here. He didn't even say anything if he's like remotely off base.
You know, when you look at the conduct that has taken place by Jimmy Kimmel, it appears to be some of the sickest conduct possible. Obviously, look, there's calls for Kimmel to be fired. You could certainly see a path forward for suspension over this. And again, you know, the FCC is going to have remedies that we could look at.
Joe, are you comfortable with the FCC playing this role?
It's not just Jimmy Kimmel. They're coming after everyone that they personally perceive to have even a little bit of smoke for Republicans. That's it. Like, this is some real fucking fascist bullshit. If you think those comments about Charlie Kirk are reprehensible, just listen to Charlie Kirk once or twice and let's see what you think about his takes then.
What did I say? Now, Disney officials at the executive level from multiple departments are freaking out about this Jimmy Kimmel firing because they're scared about internal dissatisfaction, concerns with subscription cancellations, and people boycotting, spilling over into their parks and into their cruises. And I said, one of the most effective ways after boycotting things like Monday Night Football, Dancing with the Stars, 911, and The Golden Bachelor is canceling your Disney Plus subscription. While also submitting a comment to the ABC, and I showed y'all in the other video how to do that very easily. Why? Because Disney Plus and all these subscriptions, their bread and butter are people who subscribe and then forget, or subscribe and maybe watch one thing every now and then, but keep it around just in case. Cancel your Disney Plus subscription. This is not even about Jimmy Kimmel for real. This is about the fact that the US government is bullying people into thinking that we cannot criticize them. That is not true. That we are not allowed to speak up about our opinion, about facts, about things that actually happened. ABC and Disney did this preemptively without there being a ruling, without anything, by a threat. They took him off the air by a threat. Boycott Disney, boycott ABC, and unsubscribe from Disney Plus.
So let me get this straight. Jimmy Kimmel's show gets canceled under alleged threatened arrest from the FCC chair, Brendan Carr. The same Brendan Carr that's married to Michaela Carr, who is the head of global policy of Palantir. Y'all know Palantir. Palantir, the company right now that's infringing all over your American freedom, privacy rights, collecting up all your data, storing that shit to do God knows what to you. That's what I'm saying. Y'all not paying attention to this shit. Some of y'all on the right are advocating for the very thing that man Charlie Kirk is in the grave right now, that he was fighting, which is against censorship and freedom of speech. Right now, that man died. So basically, what I'm hearing from y'all is that motherfucker died in vain. He died in vain. You know what's worse and more disrespectful than laughing at his death? Spitting on his grave. Spitting on his grave. Because that's exactly what you guys are doing today. While you were advocating for censorship, while you were doing everything to own the libs, you are becoming one, bitch. While y'all calling people to get them fired from their job. You're advocating for the FCC chair, the government to infringe upon speech through threats and duress. Threat and duress. The same FCC chair that's married to Michaela Carr, who works for global policy of Palantir, the very company that's infringing upon your privacy rights. So you are advocating at the end of the day, not only for your free speech to be taken away, but also your privacy rights. Your privacy rights. And here's the thing that y'all don't understand. Who are advocating, feeling like you owning the libs on this shit. At the end of the day, you know what's next? After they come for your freedom of speech and your privacy, they're coming for your guns, B. They gonna have you advocating to give up your guns. And you won't even know that you are moving yourself on the 5D chessboard into your own self-checkmate. All of y'all so happy to call people jobs. Because I cannot understand for the life of me, how y'all don't see how more disrespectful it is for that man to live his life, so y'all say, fighting for the freedom of speech and against censorship, for y'all to turn around on his grave and advocate for the very thing that he was fighting his life against. Every principle that he had, that he basically got murdered for, so you say, you were essentially spitting on his grave. All so you can own the libs. But if you check the chessboard, you will see how you can own the libs so far that you become one by way of Brandon and Michaela Carr. Okay? Have a good day.
So in order to understand the Jimmy Kimmel situation, you need to understand how television works, particularly local television. In your hometown, you probably have an ABC station, an NBC station, a CBS station, Fox station. Now, unless you live in big cities like New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, these stations are affiliate stations. That means they're owned by a company that's not ABC, NBC, CBS, etc., but either a company that owns 2 or 3 stations or by a station group, like Sinclair Broadcasting, Tegna, Nexstar. Then there are what's called O&Os, which are owned and operated stations. For example, the ABC station in New York is owned and operated by ABC News. Same thing with ABC7 in Los Angeles, it's owned by ABC News Disney. It is rare these days that a station will be owned by a small company. That's because around 10, 15 years ago, station groups, namely Sinclair, started buying up a bunch of local stations all around the country. NBC affiliates, ABC affiliates, it didn't matter. And particularly they focused on small and mid-sized markets. Now this was a strategic move because if you own what the majority of the country, these small local news stations that people in these small towns still watch, then you get to influence what they see. And Sinclair is conservative. It's evident in their content. Now, I used to work for Sinclair back in the day after they bought the station that I was working at. And they used to have these things called must-runs, which means no matter where in the country, if you're a Sinclair station, you must put these specific stories in your rundown, aka the news of the day that you're broadcasting. And that's when late night talk shows started making fun of the fact that anchors around the country were saying verbatim the same thing.
Of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media Now, this is important because affiliates make a deal with the network that they will broadcast their programming in their market and in exchange for example, content. So like ABC News will give ABC affiliates access to their video, and affiliates will give ABC News access to their video. So it's a matter of sharing the resources. So what happened with Jimmy Kimmel is 2 of the nation's biggest broadcast groups, Nexstar and Sinclair, basically told ABC, we're not gonna show Jimmy Kimmel in our markets, and they got a bunch of markets, if you don't rectify the situation. And I should mention that right now, currently, Nexstar is trying to buy one of the other big station groups, Tegna, which owns stations in Dallas and Atlanta, which now are getting into top 10 big city markets. So you see, in a time where viewership is declining, ABC can't really afford to piss off 2 of the big broadcast groups. Now, if that deal goes through, that means Nexstar will own 265 stations in 44 states and DC, which also Sinclair has a station in DC, the ABC station. That represents 80% of US households. Right now, Nexstar owns 32 ABC stations. Now, both Nexstar and Sinclair have been trying to proposition the FCC to relax regulations on the number of stations they can buy, because if it's up to them, they would buy more. And local news is some of the cheapest programming to produce. So if a station doesn't want to buy a syndicated show, they just throw on another local news show, 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m. And when budgets are being slashed and in small towns where they just can't produce that much content, you get this much local news and then it is packed with something that comes from the headquarters. Anyways, I just wanted to add context.
Jimmy Kimmel said something that the current administration didn't like, and his show's indefinitely canceled. So I'm gonna bring this book back up. This is what we knew. This is first-hand accounts of individuals who lived in Europe in the 30s and the 40s, okay? This goes through the start of it all, what happened during what we all know happened, which was the concentration camps, to the end. Because, I've always wondered, how did the Holocaust happen? How did people let this happen? How did it start? Because I'm sure it wasn't just one day starting to round people up. Fascinating book. And the parallels between then and today are truly alarming. It's like shutting down freedom of speech and political prisoners, because Dachau started as a political prison, not as a concentration camp. Don't believe me? Crack a book. Crack this book. Well, this book doesn't specifically talk about Dachau, but look at the research of Dachau. It started as a prison for political prisoners who spoke out against the current administration, and the administration didn't like that. And it feels like we're literally one step away from that. I'll put the link below. I feel like every American needs to read this. I feel like every human needs to read this, because never again should be on all of our minds forever.
My American friends, I'm a Russian in Russia. Don't swipe and listen to what I have to say to you. So there was a political satirical show in Russia in the 90s, quite popular, that used to make fun of politicians and their decisions and wars that they start. And when Putin became a president, of course, he shut down this program in 2002. Years later, he banned a whole group of people, as we know, LGBTQ, and it became a terroristic organization. And you know what else? Years before that, he actually banned a group of people, and certain people I cannot name because of the law, as terrorists, because they were doing investigative work about governmental officials and crimes. Do you see some similarities here, my friends?